But yeah, that's the plan. So yeah. So that's our team's vision for Oakton High School version 2.0, if you will. And it will, and I can't say exactly how long it's going to take to do, but it will be executed and rolling out over the course of the next few years, in various phases. So it's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yes.
Any questions? Yeah. Any specific rooms?
So like, first, so like this is more specifically like fire station.
Oh yeah. So when it came to this building, we had to add a bunch more. We had to add quite a few more staircases in order to handle the egress capacity per code in the fire marshal. So I think we're adding. I want to say we're adding 3 staircases to the building in order to take care of that increased load. So I think we're at wait. No, I think we're adding 5 staircases. We're adding 5 staircases to the building to do something. Yeah, it's going to handle a lot. It will fit a lot more students than this current building does.
What's the new capacity for the school?
So the capacity for the school will be, it's still going to be, the idea is to be 2,500.
Okay.
The idea is not to make a massive 4,000 student high school or anything like that. So.
Just one right here.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be changing the classrooms very drastically in terms of size?
So the classrooms will be growing. The district standard for classrooms is about 800 square feet. So all classrooms have to be within 10% of that, plus or minus. There's a little bit of flexibility because you're using an existing building. But basically, what we're doing is, with the exception of the corridor walls, because the way that this building is structured is it's load-bearing masonry. So your bearing walls, what's carrying all the load, are the corridor walls and the exterior walls of the building, and then there's steel bar joists going between them. So all of that remains. However, all the walls in between classrooms are not structural. So when we go into these buildings, we tend to take all of those walls out. So when we'll be coming in here, we'll basically be taking out all the interior walls that are not a corridor wall or an exterior wall, and then laying the school back out the way that we see works best for efficiency as well as for instruction. So. Mm-hmm.
Will you be changing the cafeteria food?
So we don't have any control over that. Is that something that needs to be modernized as well as the building?
If the building's gonna look like this, we don't.
Yeah, that's a different crew you'll have to speak to for that one. But I imagine cafeteria food probably hasn't changed very much in the past decade or so. Anyone else? Feel free. I mean, honestly, feel free to ask anything about the school or about the architecture or about the profession.
Will you be like extending the parking lot?
We will be, yeah. As part of these school modernizations, the parking lots do get increased in size, typically. Yes.
Is there any way any of this is going to be done by 2020?
If you weren't taping, I'd be able to give you an answer, but just kidding. Some work will be done. There will be work underway by 2020. That's all I can really say about that. Mm-hmm.
That means no.
If the schools were a lot bigger, will they restrict school boundaries?
Yeah, that's not architect. Sorry, I'm not saying. I'm not involved in that. Unfortunately, I can't give you an answer.
What kind of math courses do you have to take to become an architect?
So, architecture actually is pretty. The math requirements are surprisingly light. You have to, at most of these schools, you have to take up to calculus, and that's really it. So, so calculus is usually kind of calculus 1 is the maximum, is the most that's required. Now, some people take more than that. Calculus and physics are generally required, and that's about it. When you get into an architecture program, then you have kind of this own different version of physics. which is structures, and basically it's physics just for architecture. It's kind of math and physics, but just as it pertains to the architectural process. So it's only focused on things like bending and loading of structural members, beam capacity, stuff like that. You do take a few sections of that in architecture school itself. But no, I mean, in terms of for admission, you honestly just need to get up through trig, and you can take the rest of it once you get into architecture school. They're honestly a little bit, to be honest, with architecture school, they're a little bit more focused on an art portfolio for admissions, because the way that they look at it is that that they once you get in, if you're kind of lacking a little bit on the math and science capacity, you can kind of pick it back. You can take it at that point, but if you don't have the creative spark, it's hard to teach. It doesn't really get taught necessarily.
So did you like draw as like
Yeah,
in your
so
high school?
when I went to do my interviews for architecture school, I would bring a portfolio of artwork, and various folks would, depending on the school, various folks would review it. At Cornell, it was an alumni who did it. At Syracuse, I did not know this at the time, but it was the dean of the graduate school who did it. I thought it was just a guy. And I got there, on my first day, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy who reviewed my portfolio. It's like, yeah, he's the dean of the graduate school. I'm like, oh, glad he liked it. I guess that kind of gets you in if the dean of the grad school likes it. So yeah, that's generally the process. You have to have a portfolio of sorts.